Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. I am so sorry. I didn't realize until just now that that was probably blowing everyone's ears out. I wasn't even like looking at my man, I was looking at my OBS. I was downstairs talking to my dad. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry about that. Hold on one moment while I set this properly. There we go. Music should be at its original volume now. The volume was turned up because that's the way it was with the Hytale when I was playing it, because I needed to make it to where you guys actually can hear what's going on, and it just caused a whole mess. I'm so sorry about that. That's one way to start things out. Just so you know, I am starting today a new series that I am dubbing Tutorial Hell. And what that is I'm going through a playlist that I had found. You'd probably saw me watch the video of it yesterday. I'll tell you more about it in a second. But the tutorial was just a list of tutorials that I should watch in order to get into game development more properly. It could be a dead end, I don't know. It could not be. But my intention is to finish it and see if it's worth doing. So we're just gonna be watching tutorials and following along. Give me 1 second. I need to find the video really quick. Let's see. Yeah, the guy's name is DT. That's what his username is, at least. That's on really quick. Okay, we back. We good. We good. Woo. Almost. There we go. Swap my audio source to where I can actually hear the there we go. Now I can hear things.
There's something so alluring about it.
Yeah. Okay. So, as you remember, we were watching this yesterday. Pause on that, but this is what we were listening to last night.
There's something so alluring about a massive.
I'll play it again in entirety.
Maybe it's my brain.
So you know we're going into. I listened to it on my own, but might as well watch it here.
Or just
while we're here.
Once I finish it, I'll have actually completed a game.
I did do the first tutorial, so there you go.
One made in the video, and a game that I'd never actually played myself. Every time one of these pops up in my feed, I think to myself, "This is the one. This is the video that's going to finally teach me game development." And the same thing happens. I watch the first few hours, come back the next day.
We talked about this a little bit too.
A single thing that I learned the day before, and give up. You probably know this feeling too, but I've found a better way to learn game development. One that emulates a more structured university-style process in combination with the 80-20 rule, which is the idea that 80% of your work comes from just 20% of your efforts. You only need to learn and master the basics in order to create the more complex game mechanics. Yeah. When you're at university, you don't just watch your professor make something and follow along. You have lectures that teach you specific topics, and you then use what you've learned to create tiny projects, before moving on to a much bigger final project using everything you've learned, where you're left to then do your own research if you need to fill in any gaps. That's what I've tried to do with this list of tutorials. Whilst all of the technical videos that I talk about are based in Godot, the general ideas they get across should be applicable to any game engine, and I'll also link some alternative versions for Unity and Unreal. And if you have any tutorials you've watched that you think should be added, leave them down in the comments and I'll add the ones I think belong in the course. You can also like and subscribe whilst you're at it. I'll break down these tutorials into 4 sections. Intro to game development. These will give you a brief overview of how a game is
we're
made
gonna
from start to
do
finish, as well as how to
today,
navigate your game engine's user interface.
some of it at least.
Basic game
I'm not gonna be
setup,
able to get through all
how
of
to
it
make
because
any level, the
one of those
character
is
that
like
moves around,
over
and
an
is
hour.
animated. Advanced game setup. How to make any finish, as well as how to
Sorry about
navigate
that.
your game engine's user interface. Basic game setup. How to make any level, a character that moves around, and is animated. Advanced game setup. How to add enemies that attack you and you can attack them. Inventory, UI, and interactable environments.
That's good.
And finally, game theory. Now that you know how to make a game,
Okay, this, I'll be honest with you, I don't really think I need this that much. Right. Because I feel like I'm able to play something, like my own stuff, and know whether or not it's good or worth playing. Like, I have a very critical eye for this sort of stuff. I feel. However, we may watch 1 or 2 of these, just in case. That being said, I do really like Game Maker's Toolkit already. I've watched him I've watched him a bunch. He's a great resource for that sort of stuff.
you need to know how to make a good game. The first video in the intro to game development section is Making a Game from Start to Finish by Lucky. In just over 10 minutes, Lucky shows you how he went about creating a simple blackjack game, from planning out mechanics, version control, and just making sure you actually finish a game. This is a great introductory video to how game development actually works, and how you should go about it. Once that's done, we have 2 videos by Brackies, how to make a video game and how to program in Godot. These are each around an hour in length and are great for learning how to navigate the Godot interface. You'll end up making a very simple 2D platformer after the first video, and I'd recommend making your own levels for it once it's done, so that you can test yourself to see what you remember. The second video is a great introduction to programming as a whole, so if you've never touched code before, it will get you up to scratch by teaching you the basic concepts like variables, functions, if statements, and how to make your object do something with code. If you already know how to code, this is still a good video to watch, so you can learn the syntax of GDScript, which is very similar to Python if you have experience in that. In section 2, we're learning how to set up basically any game. Either watch Juiced Up First-Person Character Controller by Legion Games, or Godot Third-Person Controller by Lucky, depending on what type of game interests you. I also recommend watching Import Animations in Godot 4 by Quilled. Lucky goes over everything you need to know to set up third-person movement with walk, run, and kick animations. And once you know how to add these 3, the possibilities are endless. Legion Games goes over basic first-person controller setup, as well as how to add all the features that improve game feel, like head bob, inertia, and movement FOV change. To end section 2, move on to another video by Legion Games, Game Levels from Scratch. In only 11 minutes you'll learn how to set up any game level, add textures to objects, and add collisions to your map, so your character doesn't walk through objects. All of these videos have links to some really good free assets in their descriptions as well, so they're worth it for that alone. In section 3, first we need to take a break
We'll
from...
probably fiddle around a little bit with the, we'll probably fuck around with the assets, see what we can do with those. I'm not gonna use them in any finished products or anything, but I really don't want to use pre-made assets for anything, but we'll see.
Free assets in their descriptions as well, so they're worth it for that alone. In
We
section
can
3,
play around
first
with
we need
them.
to take a break from making anything to watch these videos all about state machines, one of the most important concepts in game design that can be a little bit difficult to wrap your head around the first time. In the first skill Godot beginners should learn, Chapsy Creates gives an overview of what state machines are, why they are important, and how he implemented them into his own game to make his code more readable. He then links to these 2 videos by the Shaggy Dev that show you how to set up a state machine, as well as some advanced techniques you might want to know about. Then we go back to Legion Games for the rest of his 6-part mini-course, where he makes a COD Zombies style game. Each video is broken down into specific concepts, so it's much easier to come back to and reference when making your own games. Learn about how to set up enemies with pathfinding and animations, how to create a shooting mechanic that uses raycasting, another important game development technique, animations,
POV or
how to create a
plants and
shooting
plants.
mechanic that uses raycasting, another important game development technique, how to set up hit
Stupid
scan
joke.
guns,
Whatever.
switching between multiple weapons, and adding UI overlays like crosshairs, before finally making your environment interactable and destructible. Finally,
Ooh,
to end section 3,
fun.
we have Godot UI Quick Start by Coco Code, where you learn how to create a really nice looking user interface that you can translate to any type of game, and how to create an inventory in Godot 4 by DevWorm, another important video for almost any type of game. Once you finish all these videos, you know how to make a game. But how do you make it fun? Section 4 is all about game feel, the thing that makes people want to keep playing your game. If you want to make a game with a combat system,
this is stuff I feel like we can skip over if we want to. Overall, I think I can figure that out on my own, but we might go into it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
or makes a good combat system by the Game Maker's Toolkit is an incredibly important video to watch. Want to make an open world game?
If I'm struggling, then I'll think about it.
How to build open world games by Extra Credits goes over the 2 types of open world game and how to figure out which one to make. This video is 10 years old, only 6 minutes, and told me more about game design than most videos made today. And How Small Open World Games Feel Big by Rasputin goes into the trap that a lot of massive open world games fall into, and how to avoid them. Finally, we've got 4 more videos from Game Maker's Toolkit. What makes good AI, how to keep players engaged, secrets of game feel and juice, and the mistake every new game developer makes. All videos about some of the most important things to consider when making your own game. And that's it. Once you've watched all of these tutorials, you should be more than ready to make your own game. Of course, you're probably going to need to go back to them to refresh yourself, and there's probably going to be something missing from the list as well. But being able to do your own research and figuring out how to fit something someone else has made into your own game is an incredibly important skill. And watching these videos should give you a good idea of what to search for when you need to. Instead of watching giant tutorials about how to make a very specific type of game, watch tiny tutorials about how to make specific mechanics that can fit into any game. I haven't gone into anything art related because I think that's an entirely different subject, but if you are interested in learning Blender in a similar structured way,
I'll be right back. I got a spam call literally in the middle of stream. Fuck them. God damn it. Oh man, that pissed me off. Oh guy, you have no down payment on this thing. That fuck you. I hate these people. I hate these people so fucking much, dude.
tiny tutorials about how to make specific important skill. And watching these videos should give you something.
Alright, let me rewind a bit because I got distracted by my phone.
New game developer makes. All videos about some of the most important things to consider when making your own game. And that's it. Once you've watched all of these tutorials, you should be more than ready to make your own game. Of course, you're probably going to need to go back to them to refresh yourself, and there's probably going to be something missing from the list as well. But being able to do your own research and figuring out how to fit something someone else has made into your own game is an incredibly important skill. And watching these videos should give you a good idea of what to search for when you need to. Instead of watching giant tutorials about how to make a very specific type of game, watch tiny tutorials about how to make specific mechanics that can fit into any game. I haven't gone into anything art related because I think that's an entirely different subject, but if you are interested in learning Blender in a similar structured way, this video by FilmStop is what inspired me to make my own video for game development, so go check it out. I'll link a playlist with all of the videos I mentioned in the description. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, that would really help me out. That's it.
Hell yeah. I really like this thumbnail. It has 18 views. What the fuck is this?
You know, this whole game development thing is actually kind of hard when you have no idea what you're doing. These past few weeks I've just been kind of working on whatever. To call me unorganized would be an understatement. I changed how items are stored because doing this was extremely inefficient, because if I wanted to add a new item, I would have to go here, add it in the director's code, and then I would have to add it here as well. And if I wanted to change an item name, I would have to do that every single time. And eventually,
he's still in my thing.
They were all the items were gonna be like not accurate. So instead of doing all that, I wrote a script that to automatically put all the items from the director's list into the player.
Alright, that's enough of that for right now. Oh man. This history programming. Okay. Let's actually. Sorry, I need to go here. That's where I need to go. Bam. So we're starting with this. Not this. We'll do that some other time. But I'd like to actually do this eventually too.
Random video to video. You may pick up some useful tips here and there.
This seems like a decent enough thing. I think I watched this a bit too. A little bit. I didn't like watch all the way, but I watched a little bit of it and it seemed like something I would be able to I should use. So I guess for today we're gonna be watching these. Probably just this and this.
Hey, it's Lucky. Today I have a very important tutorial for you guys. We're going to be talking about version control, planning out your game, actually getting stuff done, and finishing a game. It's the hardest part of game dev, to actually stick with a project and make it to a build that you can publish online and get people to play. I'm going to give you a very basic explanation of version control, planning out your game, and for demonstration purposes I built this blackjack game. So yeah, I'm going to be showing the full process of me building this game, and I hope you get some useful tips out of this. And during the build process, I'll also give some tips on keeping motivation and how to stay focused on your goals and not get too caught up in feature creep and other things that might really destroy your project. So yeah, it's not really the most interesting tutorial for some people, but it's very important for starting game devs especially, and even experienced ones. So yeah, I hope you'll follow me along. And let's get into it.
Oh yeah.
Planning and setup. Probably the most important part of the project. This is where you're gonna think about the project, how it's gonna be built, what is gonna require the most time, where you're gonna get your assets, how you're gonna use them. So I'm gonna be using this software called Trello. It'll be the first link in the description. It's a very handy software for organizing your projects and time management.
Okay.
We're going to be using a very basic setup for this. I'm just going to create 3 boards, one for to do, one for stuck, and one for done. And in these boards we're going to create our cards. And for the cards you're basically going to create little tasks for your game that you can finish independently. And then when all tasks are completed, you'll have your first build. So you can see I broke down the blackjack game into cards, like card management, chip management, saving the game, main menu, the main game loop. I try to make every card a task that's about an hour to half an hour, to not get stuck on a card for too long, but also not have the cards be so short that the whole system is kind of redundant. So when setting this up, try to imagine how much time every task is going to take, create a little card for this task. I also categorize mine with colors, so I know if I'll miss the asset gathering card before I get into the game building. And when you finished all your cards, double check and make sure that once all the cards are moved to the done section, you'll have a finished game. And this way you can really nicely chop up your project into manageable portions and not get too intimidated by the size of something. So now that we have our Trello board set up, let's move on to version control and file structure. I'd like to create a folder for my project and have a separate folder for assets and the Godot project itself. And then I'm going to create a GitHub repository for the project. If you're not familiar with GitHub, it's basically version control. That means that you can upload your project in chunks or in steps called comments.
Oh, let me check something.
If you mess up something in your project or you want to go.
So if I go to Godot, what was that? Are they not some sort of Tiny Basic Funko Pop? I guess that's weird. So go here,
go back and look how you changed something. You can go back in older versions of your software and go back before you messed something up.
Where? There we go. So,
Or
let me look
because
at this. Projects Godot. What? I'm trying to like see like what pathway I'm using. I guess maybe I just made my own that this. I was thinking. I don't know. This looks weird to me.
version control, that means that you can upload your project in chunks or in steps called comments. And this is handy because if you mess up something in your project or you want to go back and look how you changed something, you can go back in older versions of your software and go back before you messed something up, or because a feature you thought was nice is not nice and you want to revert it. Yeah, it's a must for any game project. Setting up GitHub Desktop is the easiest way of using GitHub. I'll link a tutorial on GitHub Desktop below, but it's really basic. It just catches any changes to the project and you can add little comments to what you did and then push it to the online repository to never lose those changes again. Yeah, with this setup, I think we can get started with our first cards. Getting the assets.
I've had to set that up after I don't know how to do that.
Having a visually nice game is of course very important for making sales and getting people to play. For my game, I'm just gonna gather some basic assets. I'm not gonna be creating any myself. I just needed an asset for the card pack, some poker chips I found online, and a blackjack table. I also downloaded a font from Kenny. You can see most of these assets are from Kenny. The sounds and the cards, I just got the chips and the table from Sketchfab. Just found some free models, converted them in Blender to individual chips, and set it all up in my assets folder. I create my assets folder separate from the main project, so if I have to go back and edit some things or delete some edits from the project but still want to keep them for maybe later use, I still have the folder separate. So yeah, for this project it was quite easy. I didn't have to create anything myself. Of course, if you're going to build a nice original game, you might want to create assets yourself or hire an artist. But yeah, for me, intentionally, this is a very easy process. Just getting some cards, some chips, and a table, and I can get coding. Making the game. After I set up all the assets, my version control and planning, it was time to get into it. The process took about 3 days. I spent about 2 to 4 hours each day developing this game. It's very basic, but it had some kinks and stuff I had to work out.
I guess this is basically just a setup on like how he went about doing this, rather than like an actual tutorial on how to do what he did.
Like detecting blackjack and having ace values in card hands, and managing save data, which was actually a first for me. So yeah, the process was quite smooth. I just stuck to the cards, didn't get too sidetracked on features and stuff the game didn't need. And this is one of the most important things in staying motivated. Stick to your planning. Don't spend too much time building features that are not going to be in the game or that were not in your planning, because getting distracted in projects can be really killing. Once you spend a lot of time on something that you realize you don't need, it gets very demotivating to start back from a point back in time. So yeah, stick to your planning. Just get that first build out there. Get some footage, and definitely share all your process online on the forums and on Reddit. There's a great community around Godot, and people can really motivate you to keep going. But yeah, I'll share some general tips on keeping motivation and how I keep motivation in making games and also making these videos. At the end of the day, it comes down to really basic stuff. Just getting started is the most important one. Don't put it off. Just get in there, open the project, start coding, make mistakes, fix those mistakes, and make process. Get those cards out of there. This card system really helps for keeping motivation, because you can feel progress way easier. You can just swipe off a card, or you can make a planning in your day for like, okay, today I'm gonna knock out the sound card, or today I'm gonna knock out the settings card. and it's really satisfying to see the process of your game going. Some other tips that don't apply to everybody, but definitely applied to me when I first got started, is some basic stuff. Just have a good sleep schedule. Actually make time for making a game. Don't just do it in a rush when you don't really have time. Really plan it out in your day. Give yourself the space to fail, and don't put your time frames too tight. Game development is usually a lot about managing expectations. Don't expect a giant game to be done in a day, or to find some amazing feature and have the whole world look at your game. You really got to do it for yourself, and because you just want to create something. And once you get into that motivational flow, and you get into that flow of building stuff and knocking out cards and seeing your game progress, it's a very satisfying project, and it's really, really a lot of fun. So yeah, I also left some features from Blackjack out of this game, intentionally, mostly because of time management, and I wanted to get this video out in a reasonable time frame, and also because in case there's interest in these types of videos for management and setting up your projects, I wanted to do a tutorial on updating a project and publishing maybe. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say about making a game, planning a game, getting a game done. I hope this helped some of you, and I wanted to take the last moments of this video to thank you guys so much. I recently hit 100,000 views, 3,000 subscribers, and I got accepted into the YouTube Partner Program. So yeah, that's super exciting, and thank you guys so much. I didn't expect this to happen anytime this fast. The support has been amazing. I cannot thank you.
Okay, that was a good overview. I didn't even think about the Trello board. I knew of Trello boards.
Yeah, I'd love to be part of this community where I can help you guys with the tutorials. And you guys send me your projects, and I always comment on them. If you have any projects that you made with my tutorials, send them to me. I love seeing it. But yeah, a huge, huge thank you. You guys have been amazing. This has been an awesome ride. And I'm gonna keep on making these videos, and if you have any requests, leave them down below.
Sick.
And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.
We lost. Alright, I gotcha. Let it go.
Godot.
Oh yeah.
Godot. Godot. Whichever you prefer, if you want to use it to make a game, you've come to the right place.
Already it's
I've been
still
making
for me.
video games for more than 14 years now, and recently I've fallen in love with Godot. Godot is a great choice for many developers, and pretty beginner friendly.
Wait, hold on a second. I know this guy. Didn't he used to make, shit, didn't he used to be like a big, Unity guy? I think he used to be the Unity guy. What the fuck? Hey, okay. Sick.
I've been thinking of something that I could say to try and break the ice, but I think I'll just go ahead and do it.
That's all you need. Alright.
Also, it's open source and completely free to use.
Let's
Now,
fucking
you
go.
probably have a bunch of ideas of games that would be cool to make. But no matter if you're dreaming of making an FPS, a 2D platformer, or anything in between using Godot, the first
Dude, that looked fucking awesome. This right here, that's fucking
FPS,
sick.
a 2D platformer, or anything in between using Godot.
I have
the
this
first step
game. I
is,
love
of
that game.
course, to install it. Now this process might be a bit tedious, but bear with me now. We go to godotengine.org, press download latest, Godot engine, and we're done. This is a huge advantage of Godot. It's extremely lightweight and can even run in the browser. Now you might want to unzip this folder and place it somewhere you remember. But other than that, we're ready to open up Godot. So let's double click it, and it's going to ask us if we want to look at some example projects. I'll just press cancel. Then we can press new, name our project, say first game. I'm going to place mine on my desktop under my games folder. Let's create a separate folder for first game, so hit create folder and create and edit. And here we are.
Well, let me do this. Project. I put the project list. Let me do a create a new one. Let's do this. Use first game project. There you go.
A clean slate. A blank canvas. Oh, I am so ready to make this game about... Well, this might be a good time to decide what our game will be about. But first, this video is sponsored by Zenva. If you're excited about Godot 4, make sure to check out Zenva Academy. They offer comprehensive beginner and intermediate courses, including a fantastic free introductory course on Godot. What's really cool about Zenva is how they combine fun and practical learning through professional video tutorials, written lessons, and interactive quizzes. Plus, you'll be...
We're not gonna look at it. We're not gonna do it today, at least, but I want to at least look at this. I assume I have to sign up for this. Oh shit. They're hacking my mainframe. Yeah, I have to sign up for this. Well, I just wanted to see what else they had for specifically the, oh man, they expanded since then. Good lord. Well, maybe eventually we'll look at this. I don't know. But let's continue on with this.
Real projects across various genres from RPGs to bullet hells. Zenva also has a wide range of courses on Python, Unity, Unreal, and other essential tools. With a single subscription, which includes a 7-day free trial, you unlock over 250 courses. Use the coupon code below to get an extra 20% off the first year of your Zenva subscription, on top of any existing site-wide discounts. The offer is...
What is this? Oh, this is when I opened up the Trello board. That's right.
Valid for the first 50 subscribers, so make sure to use your coupon today to start your game dev adventure. So, in the spirit of learning the basics of the engine and giving you an overview of how you can start using it to make things, I've put together the most basic game I could imagine. Think of it like food without salt. It doesn't have much flavor, but it does have a player, enemies, moving platforms, collectible coins, and most importantly, it should get you familiar with the engine in no time. Also, we'll be working in 2D, but another really cool thing about Godot is that it's very easy to transfer 2D concepts to 3D. So don't worry, if your dream game is in 3D, most of what you learn here is going to directly apply. As for programming, Godot uses its own scripting language called GDScript. It's pretty fast and easy to use, but still quite powerful. We'll do a bit of programming in this video to get you started, but the main focus is really to get familiar.
I was fucking around with timescale. I have a little piece of my code in one of my projects that uses timescale. You can check it out, but
with Godot as a
whole,
and to quickly get a game up and running. Because of this, I don't expect you to fully understand all the code you see. Feel free to write after me or just lean back and observe. Our next video will be about learning to program in GDScript. Alright, I promised you food without salt, so let's get cooking.
Oh yeah. What's that doing in there? Nice.
Now to make our delicious game, we need ingredients. We need things like sprites, models, textures, and sounds.
Oh, this guy, he's fun. Like him. By the way, I was gonna attempt to do Unity, originally when I wanted to do game development stuff. That was I'm not joking when I say this. I say this with 100% sincerity. The reason I did not choose Unity was because unless I paid for it, I'd have to have their Unity logo pop up at the beginning screen, and I didn't want to do that. I thought it looked stupid. That's literally the only reason I went with Godot instead of Unity.
These are called assets, and a game engine like Godot is not so much made for creating these from scratch, but more for putting everything together. It's really the stirring part of making a game. Now, since I can't expect you to go shopping for assets at your local supermarket, I've used a bit of TV magic to prepare some beforehand. You can download them for free using the link below. I've bundled together sprites from the amazing Analog Studios and modified them a bit, along with a pixel font, some custom sounds, and a cute little music track. It's also perfectly fine to use other assets you find on the internet. There are many great resources for free assets, just make sure you check the license and give proper credit to the author. CC0 means that the asset is completely free to use and there's no requirement to credit. That being said, making your own assets is one of the places where you can really get creative, and I highly recommend you try it out as soon as you feel comfortable. Remember, you can always use these assets as placeholders and then modify or replace them later. Alright, let's get our assets into Godot.
You shove that in there while I shove these into my computer. Go. There we go. Creative Commons 0, CC0. I'm sorry. I know. I'm a terrible person, but I know. I need this. F. Let's go to my put you in here. I gotta say those in. Put those in here. Let's go ahead and go in here. New folder. So here, just rename this to sets. I'm glad we're going back to making stuff. I was getting an itch to do it. That's it here. You. Oh, I guess I didn't need to put in the assets folder. There we go. This is only like 1 megabyte too, wasn't it? Yeah, 1.6 megabytes. Insane.
Importing assets in Godot is extremely simple. The file system window is where we have all the files we use in our game.
Yeah.
By default, the only thing in here is the Godot icon. So let's create a folder where we can put our assets. Let's right-click, new folder, and name it Assets.
I didn't do that. I just crashed on its own. I was not happy that I imported a file as it was open, I think. Alright, open. Well,
let's also make one for scripts and scenes that we can use later. Now we can simply drag and drop.
okay, well, I guess I wasn't supposed to do that. Go.
drop our assets into the asset folder. So I'll select the assets folder, open up my assets here. I'm going to select all the subfolders and click and drag them into Godot. And voila!
Okay, so yeah, put all that in there. By the way, here's the license for everything. In case you wanted to take a gander at it. TCO, so I don't need to give credit, so get out of here. Get out of my fucking game. I don't want to see your face around here again.
We can now see and use all of our assets in Godot. So now we're ready to make our game. So let's talk about how we do that. To make anything in Godot, we use nodes. If we want to make a player character, we do so by putting together a bunch of nodes.
Of course.
If we want to make an enemy, we do so by putting together nodes. If we want to make a main menu, you guessed it, we use nodes.
Of course.
So nodes are the fundamental building blocks of your game. And nodes come in many types. Some display an image, others play a sound, or add physics. And we can even extend existing nodes to build more powerful ones. So in its essence, making a game in Godot is combining and extending nodes to get the result we're looking for. It's a super creative and...
I thought Rigid Body 2D didn't have physics. I thought that was the point of it, was that it's an unmoving object. Am I wrong on that? I thought kinematic was the, well, I guess kinematic is character. Where the hell is it? So it's under collision object 2D physics. The static body, that's the one I was thinking of, not rigid body. Yeah. Alright, let's get you out of here. Sick of looking at your face. Make me sick. Alright, there we go.
Fun process. But building everything in one big world with nodes for the player, enemies, UI, and a bunch of levels all in one place would quickly become completely unmanageable and confusing. Instead, we use scenes. Scenes allow us to bundle together nodes into reusable packages. A scene can be a character, a weapon, a menu. They can be as small as a single collectible coin or an entire level. Scenes make it really easy to focus on building one part of our game at a time, and then slowly combining them to make our game larger and larger.
It's very modular.
This is because we can put scenes inside of other scenes, which is called nesting, and allows us to take, say, a player scene, a platform scene, and a collectible coin scene, and put them all inside of another scene, say a level 1 scene. And even cooler, since scenes are reusable, we can make a scene only once and then use it all over our game. We can make many levels that all use the same collectible coin scene. And if we want to change something about our coin, we simply edit the scene and it automatically updates everywhere else. As you can see, all the nodes and scenes in our game start to resemble a tree-like structure. And that's exactly what we call it, the scene tree. And fittingly, we call the node at the very beginning of the tree the root. So now that we know a bit about how Godot works, let's start by making the most essential part of our game, the player character. Player 1.0. So let's create a scene where we'll put everything together. This is going to be a 2D game, so I'll select 2D scene. And let's rename this from Node 2D to Game. And even though it's...
Alright, let's do that. Yeah. What? Get out of here. There we go.
Empty, let's go ahead and save it. So hit Ctrl S, go under Scenes, and let's save it here. And now we can actually play our game. It's not going to be very exciting, but let's try it out. So let's hit play up here or simply press F5. It's going to tell us that we haven't selected a main scene. We need to tell Godot which scene to run. I'm just going to press select current and you can see that our game scene becomes blue to let us know that this is now our main scene. And as you can see, not much is happening here. So let's stop playing by hitting the stop icon here or pressing F8, and let's put in a player to make it more exciting. So,
let me
and as you can see, not much is happening here. So let's stop. This is now. I'm gonna press select current, and you can see that our game scene becomes blue to let us know that this is now our main scene. And
okay, that's what that coloration meant. Well, now it's not showing that at all. Now, what the fuck?
a main scene. We need to tell Godot which scene to run. I'm just gonna press select current, and you can see that our game scene becomes blue to let us know that this is now our main scene. And as you can see, not much is happening here. So let's stop playing by hitting the stop icon here or pressing F8, and let's put in a player to make it more exciting. So, first off, let's create a new scene by hitting the plus sign up here, and this will be our player scene. And the root node for our player is going to be what is called a character body 2D. So let's add a new node by pressing the plus here or hitting Control A, and let's search for character body 2D. As you can see, this is a 2D physics body that is specialized for characters moved by script. So it's perfect for a player character that we want to be able to collide with the environment. So let's hit create. And now we can see our node here, but we can't actually see our player in the scene. So let's add some graphics. Let's add another node. I'm going to hit Control A, and let's search for sprite. And as you can see, we can choose a single sprite, or in our case, we want to create an animated character. So let's choose the animated sprite 2D. Sprites are just what we call images in our 2D world. Now, with this node selected, we can use the inspector here on the right to change properties on that node. If we select a different node, say our character body 2D, we can now see the properties on that node instead. So our inspector allows us to change things about a node. In our animated sprite 2D, we want to add some animations, and we want to give it some sprite frames, the individual frames that will make up our animation. So let's click here and add a new sprite frames. And now with this selected, we can see that it will open up the sprite frames window at the bottom. And in this window, we're going to press this tiny icon here, add a new
what?
Sprite frames.
What's an anime? Oh, it's an animated 2D sprite. My bad. That's why I was confused.
And now with this selected, we can see that it will open up the sprite frames window at the bottom. And in this window, we're going to press this tiny icon here that lets us add frames from a sprite sheet. So let's click that, go into our assets, under our sprites. Let's find our knight.png. And as you can see, I've gone ahead and packed all the different sprite frames of the knight's animation into a single image. This is called a sprite sheet.
Oh yeah.
It's a very efficient way of working with lots of sprites, such as when doing animation. Otherwise, we would have to create an image for each single frame, which would quickly become an unmanageable amount of files. Now to start adding these frames in, we first need to configure the grid here. Currently it's set to 4 by 4. Let's go ahead and increase this. I've created an 8 by 8 grid here. And as you can see, each frame now has its own grid cell. And let's just start by adding the idle animation. To do this, we simply click the frames in the order that we would like. So I'm going to go from the left-hand side here and click. As you can see, it says this to...
That's the one issue I made. Anime bench. I didn't give her a full sprite sheet. I just gave her individual images, which became unmanageable, quite frankly.
0, the first frame. Then I'm going to click the next one and the next one and the next one. And now it goes from 0 to 3 and we'll play from left to right.
Unless it was the idling animation, in which case I gave her a full sprite sheet for that, but not a full sprite sheet for everything she could do.
Right. We can always click again to remove, and this is how you can quickly build an animation from different parts of your sprite sheet. So I'll select these 4 frames and hit add frames. Now let's hit F to center our character on the screen, and I'm going to use the scroll wheel to zoom in.
Yeah. I didn't know F did that. What the fuck?
We can also click and drag with the middle mouse button to pan. Now our character looks weirdly blurry. That's because we're working with pixel art, which requires really hard edges. By default, Godot is going to try to do some texture smoothing to make textures look better, but applied to pixel art, that is definitely not the case. So let's simply disable this. So let's go to Project, Project Settings. Let's go under Rendering to Textures.
Project, settings, rendering to textures.
And here on the default texture filter, let's change this from linear to nearest, which will immediately make our pixel art look crisp. Then we can select our animated sprite, and let's try playing the animation. That looks great. I'm going to increase the FPS here to 10 to make it go a bit faster. I'm also going to rename the animation sprite, and let's try playing the animation. That looks great. I'm going to increase the FPS here to 10 to make it go a bit faster. I'm also going to rename the animation
so hype, look
to
at him.
idle. I'm going to enable autoplay to make sure it plays right when we start the game. And finally, I'm going to take the sprite here and move it up to make it kind of stand on this line. And that's it for our graphics for now. We'll add more animations later, but as you can see, we're currently getting this warning here in the scene view. And if I hover over it, it's going to say that this node has no shape, so it can't collide or interact with other objects. And this is because a character body 2D is a physics node. And whenever we're working with physics, we need to define a shape that the physics engine can work with. So let's add a new node. I'm going to press the plus sign here. I'm going to search for collision shape 2D, hit create. And here in the inspector, we can now define a new shape. I'm going to add a circle shape. I'm going to make this a bit smaller and drag it up. Somewhere around there looks fine. Now you're probably thinking, well, this is pretty far from our actual graphics, but that's totally fine. Colliders rarely need to be very precise, and it's a good rule of thumb to make them a bit smaller than the graphics if you need to. Having colliders that are too large is simply going to be frustrating when playing. So let's now rename the top node here to player. And let's save the scene, Ctrl S, as player, hit save. And now we can go into our game scene and simply drag our player in here. So I'm going to go to the top here and drag in the player. We also need to create a camera, so go to the top here and drag in the player.
Okay, you just do that. I did it through this thing all the time.
We also need to create a camera so that we can control what is currently being shown. So let's add a new node, hit Ctrl A, search for camera 2D, hit create. And now if we press F, we can see that we have this huge camera viewport. This is definitely currently too large, so let's zoom in on our camera. I'm going to set the zoom here to 4x4 and simply click and drag our camera to be on top of the player. And now
okay. I made the character part of the character. What is this boy up to?
now we can try playing our game. And there you go. We now have a player that is playing an idle animation and nothing else is happening. That's because we need to add a script that allows us to move around. So let's close our game, go into our player scene, and with our player node selected, let's press this add script button.
Oh, there's the game.tscn. Now it's working. There we go.
Here we can choose a template that allows us to move around. So let's close our game, go into our player scene, and with our player node selected, let's press this Add Script button. Here we can choose a template. Of course, we're going to do some programming in this video, but writing player movement can quickly become a bit overwhelming. So for now, we'll use the basic movement template provided by Godot. Then later, we'll go in and modify it to play different animations and rebind input to the keys we'd like to use. As for the path here, I'm going to make sure that we put this inside of our scripts folder, and let's just name it player. Let's hit create, and as you can
Scripts.
see, this creates a script that will move around our character. I know that this might look really confusing at first, but don't worry, we'll have a look at what all this means later. For now, let's just try playing. And our player immediately falls off the screen. That's because we need to give him a collider to stand on. Right now, our player has a collider, but it doesn't have anything to collide with. So in our game, I'm going to go back to the 2D view at the top here. This is where we can change from script view to 2D. Let's add a new node. So let's hit the plus sign. Let's add a static body 2D. And this is another type of physics body. It's the one we use for things that don't need to move. That's why it's called static. So it's perfect for creating some ground. Let's hit create. And again, this is going to give us this warning here that it needs a shape. So let's add a collision shape. So I'm going to hit Control A, search for collision shape. And for the shape here, we're going to create a new world boundary shape. The world boundary is a type of collider that is perfect for stuff like, well, world boundaries, because it's going to extend infinitely on the horizontal axis here. So as you can see, it's currently pointing up.
Oh, we could have used that earlier on my Area 2D thing, but whatever.
Also pointed to the side here, and now it's going to extend infinitely on the vertical. I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that. Instead, I'm going to select the entire static body here. I'm going to change to the Move tool by pressing this icon here or simply W on the keyboard. And I'm going to move it down under our character. Then I'm going to go back to our Select tool, which is here, or simply press Q. And while our collider doesn't have any Select tool, which is here, or simply press Q. And while our collider doesn't have any graphics, it's going to be invisible. We can now play, and there we go.
Oh yeah.
Go. Our player now gently lands on the collider, and we can move around using the arrow keys and jump with the spacebar.
Oh, spacebar.
Our player is currently a bit too fast, and I think his jump is a bit too high, so let's modify our script to change that. Let's close our game, go into our script, and at the top here, there are two constants that we can modify, our speed as well as our jump velocity. So I'm going to set the speed to something less like 130, and the jump velocity to say -300. And now when we play, it looks and feels a lot better. So our player is moving around, but currently there's not much to look at. So let's build a world to explore. World building 1.0. So to build our world, let's begin by removing our collider here. We're going to build an actual ground for him to stand on. And let's instead add a tilemap node. So let's press new node and search for tilemap.
Okay. Right,
Now, The most common way to create levels in 2D is by using tiles. In other words, we build our game world by drawing different tiles onto a grid. This is a great way to work because we can create a lot of varied levels using just a few tiles. The tile assets we use to paint are normally packed together into one big image, just like our player was. This is called the tile set. So the tile set is a collection of tiles that we can use to paint from, and the tile map that we just created is the node we use to paint these tiles into our world. So to start painting on our tile map, we need to add a tile set. So in our inspector under tile set, we'll create a new tile set, and if we press it here, we get to configure some things about it. The main thing you want to make sure is set correctly is the tile size. The tile set in our asset does indeed have 16 by 16 pixel tiles, so we'll just leave that as is. Now at the bottom here you can see that we have two tabs. We have the tile set and tile map. So before we can start painting with our tile map, let's go into our tile set and configure this properly. The main thing we want to do is drag in our tile set asset. So let's go into our assets folder under sprites and drag in the world tileset.png. It's going to ask us if we would like to automatically create tiles in the atlas. We do, so let's press yes. And now let's make some more room here and we can zoom in to view it. And as you can see, it's actually gone ahead and automatically detected the grid cells that have tiles. If for some reason it's made an error, we can always use our eraser here.
What?
The main thing you want to make sure is set correctly is the tile size.
Oh, there it is. Not bad.
Tile set in our asset does indeed have 16 by 16 pixel tiles, so we'll just leave that as is. Now at the bottom here you can see that we have two tabs. We have the tile set and tile map. So before we can start painting with our tile map, let's go into our tile set and configure this properly. The main thing we want to do is drag in our tile set asset. So let's go into our assets folder under sprites and drag in the world tileset.png. So let's press yes. And now let's make some more room here and we can zoom in to view it. And as you can see, it's actually gone ahead and automatically detected the grid cells that have tiles. If for some reason it's made an error, we can always use our eraser here to remove tiles. In this case here, it thinks that the top of the palm tree is a bunch of different tiles. I'm going to use the eraser to get rid of these and instead go out of the erase mode and then hold down shift while clicking and dragging to turn this into one big tile. It's also split up the trees into 3 different tiles, but in this case it's actually something that we want because it allows us to create trees of varying heights. I'll show you this once we start painting.
What? Oh, that's right, the eraser. There we are.
Other than that, I think it looks good. So with this tile set,
I was thinking about that
go
too.
to our tile map and start
With the
painting.
trees.
Make sure that the scene has the select tool and that the tile map has the paint tool enabled. And now let's simply select a tile and start painting it in. If you make a mistake, you can always right click to remove. So I'm just going to fast forward through me drawing out the level here. As you can see, I begin by blocking out the most essential game parts, leaving in room for gameplay objects like moving platforms and enemies. And then only once I'm finished with that, I start decorating. A nifty trick here is that you can select multiple tiles at once to paint in more than one. And you can always go into select mode in order to select large chunks and move them. Now once I'm ready to start decorating, let me just show you the cool trick with the trees here. So let's say we want to add a tree here at the top. Well, then we can actually just paint the bottom then choose how tall we want the tree to be, and then paint the top. So that's one of the advantages of working with tiles, is that we can also make individual elements really flexible. So once you're happy with the level, let's just go ahead and press play, and
Falls
our
right through.
player is going to fall right off. That's because we need to add a physics layer to our tiles. To do this, we go to our tile map, go under our tile set, physics layers, and add a new layer. Then with this layer, we can go under our tile set, and here we need to choose what tiles belong to the physics layer. Because we don't want to collide with everything in our tile map. Then with this layer, we can go under our tile set, and here we need to choose what tiles belong to the physics layer. Because we don't want to collide with everything in our tile map. The trees and bushes, we just want to pass right through. So let's go to paint here, and the property that we want to paint is the physics layer 0 we just created. And now we can actually go ahead and paint onto our tiles these physics settings. So I'm simply going to paint this onto all the different solid tiles. And if you make a mistake and want to remove a tile, we go here, select clear, and now we can paint with no physics, or we can go back to the default tile shape, which is the entire tile, and paint with that, or simply hit F to do that. So C and F are the shortcuts here. Now, there are also some tiles that we do want physics on, but where we need the collider to only be on part of the tile, such as our bridge here. So if I zoom in on our bridge, we can see that if I just paint physics onto these, it doesn't look right. Instead, we need to go in and only paint a partial collider. So over here on the left, we can actually modify these colliders to exactly suit our needs. We can even add and remove points by clicking and right-clicking. But in this case, 4 points will do just fine, and that's a good shape for our collider. Then we can paint these onto the 3 different
Go.
tiles. And then for the next one here, we can configure it. This slants up a bit. I'm going to paint that on as well. And then for the final one here, let's go ahead and make that go in the opposite direction. And here you actually want to be pretty precise whenever you have an overlap of the colliders here. I think that looks pretty good. This helps avoid that.
This is so much easier than what I was trying to do before for these. You remember me trying to set up the collision for these things. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Get stuck. I'm also going to take the tile map and drag it to the very top so that we can that go in the opposite direction. And here you actually want to be pretty precise whenever you have the overlap of the colliders here. I think that looks pretty good. This helps avoid that our character gets stuck. I'm also going to take the tile map and drag it to the very top so that we can always find it. And now when we play, we are indeed colliding with our environment. Awesome. Now we probably want our camera to follow the player because he's currently just running off the screen. So I'm going to make some room here. I'm going to take the camera 2D and simply drag it under the player. Making it a child of the player means that it will just automatically follow the player node. I'm also going to make sure that the camera is still positioned right on top of the player. And we can even turn on position smoothing to really smooth out our camera follow. So I'm going to enable position smoothing on the camera with a default speed of.
Alright, let me go back.
And now when we play, I think that looks pretty good. This helps avoid that our character gets stuck. I'm also going to take the tile map and drag it to the very top so that we can always find it. And now when we play, we are indeed colliding with our environment. Awesome.
Yay.
Now we probably want our camera to follow the player because he's currently just running off the screen. So I'm going to make some room here. I'm going to take the camera 2D and simply drag it under the player. Making it a child of the player means that it will just automatically follow the player node. I'm also going to make sure that the camera is still positioned right on top of the player. And we can even turn on position smoothing to really smooth out our camera follow. So I'm going to enable position smoothing on the camera with a default speed of 5 pixels. And now when we play, as you can see, our camera smoothly follows our player. Awesome. So now we have a first draft of our game world, but so far everything is stuck to the grid. Let's start adding some dynamic and moving elements, such as platforms. Platforms, some that move and some that don't. So whenever we are creating a new element of our game, we begin by making a new scene. And for the root node here, I'm going to hit add and search for the animatable body 2D. This is a physics body that we use whenever we want to animate a node and still have it collide properly with other nodes in its path, which is perfect for moving platforms that should still collide properly with our player. So let's hit create for the draft
Did I
of our
miss
game
anything
world.
else?
But
Oh wait, no, I need to do the
follow
full camera
the player
thing.
node. We are indeed colliding with our environment. Awesome. Now we probably want our camera to follow the player because he's currently just running off the screen. So I'm going to make some room here. I'm going to take the camera 2D and simply drag it under the player. Making it a child of the player means that it will just automatically follow the player node. I'm also going to make sure that the camera is still positioned right on top of the player. And we can even turn on position smoothing.
Oh, that
to
worked
really
perfectly.
smooth
Hell
out
yeah.
our camera follow. So I'm going to enable position smoothing on the camera with a default speed of 5 pixels. And now when we play, as you can see, our camera is still currently just running off the screen. So I'm going to make some. Making it a child of the player means that it will just automatically follow the player node.
Very nice,
I'm also
very
going
nice.
to make sure that the camera is still positioned right on top of the player. And we can even turn on position smoothing to really smooth out our camera follow. So I'm going to enable position smoothing.
I was wondering about this.
On the camera with a default speed of 5 pixels.
Oh, that's way more high quality than mine was. I'm happy you told me about that. Hell yeah.
Pixels. And now when we play, as you can see, our camera smoothly follows our player. Awesome. So now we have a first draft of our game world, but so far everything is stuck to the grid. Let's start adding some dynamic and moving elements, such as platforms. Platforms, some that move and some that don't. So whenever we are creating a new element of our game, we begin by making a new scene. And for the root node here, I'm going to hit add and search for the animatable body 2D. This is a physics body that we use whenever we want to animate a node and still have it collide properly with other nodes in its path, which is perfect for moving platforms that should still collide properly with our player. So let's hit create and let's add some graphics. So Control A, we'll search for sprite and select the sprite 2D. And now we can drag in the texture we want. So let's go under our assets, sprites, and drag in the platforms.png. Let's hit F and zoom in. And as you can see, this is also a sprite sheet and it's currently just displaying all of them. So let's go in and define exactly which one we want to show. We can do this under region, enabled, and hit edit region. And so we can kind of crop out the element that we want to show. I'm going to change the snap mode here to pixel snap. And I'm just going to go for a default grass platform. That looks good. And now when we close it, we can see our sprite perfectly.
Yeah. That was good. There we go.
Cropped out. Again, we have the warning here, so let's go ahead and add a collision shape 2D. For the shape, I'm going to add a rectangle shape. And now we can simply click and drag this to configure it. Then let's rename our top node here to platform and save the scene. So Control S. In our scenes folder, hit save. We've actually created our platform. So in our game scene, we can drag a collision shape 2D. For the shape, I'm going to add a rectangle shape. And now we can simply click and drag this to configure it. Then let's rename our
Go.
top node here to platform and save the scene. So Control S. In our scenes folder, hit save. We've actually created our platform. So in our game scene, we can drag it in, go under scenes, find the platform, drag it into wherever we'd like, and let's hit play. And as you can see, it works. However, one problem right now is that we can't actually jump onto the platform from underneath. To fix this, we turn it into a one-way platform. So in our platform scene, let's select
I made part of the character
and enable one-way collision. And now when we play, we can jump onto into a one-way platform.
It's actually teaching me a lot of stuff I didn't realize was like an actual thing.
Let's select our collision shape and enable one-way collision.
Yeah, that's is it still part of the... No, it's not. What? Where is it? You try to up arrow. It is part of the character. Oh wait, I didn't actually say the scene. That was weird. Okay, yeah, I get it now. Hell yeah.
And now when we play, we can jump onto platforms from underneath. However, the player is currently passing behind the platform. This is because the platform is currently after the player in the tree.
That's why
This
I was
means
doing that.
each frame, the player is drawn first, and then the platform is drawn on top. We could just move the player in the tree, but I don't want to depend on that. Instead, we fix the draw order by changing the z-index of the player. So in our player scene, we go under ordering and set the z-index to something higher like 5. By default, all visible nodes have a z-index of 0. Because they all have the same index, they are drawn according to their order in the tree. So by setting the z-index to a higher value like 5, we ensure that our player will always appear on top. And now if we play, we can see that our player passes in front of the platform. So our platform is working, but it's currently just hovering there. We might want some platforms to move around to increase difficulty. So let's use animation to do that. I'm gonna leave.
Let me look through this real quick. You. do this. So I put some right there. Methinks. Shit, no, hold on. I'm on the wrong thing. What? Oh, shit. I could probably fit in there. Uh, what? 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 Sick. All right.
This platform here as kind of a static platform. I'm just going to place it there. Then I'm going to place another platform over here by simply dragging it in. This is the platform that I would like to move back and forth. In fact, let me just go into the tile map and make this gap even larger. There we go. So to add animation to this platform only, we simply select it, add a new node, and we want to use an animation player. Let's hit create.
Uh, okay. Uh, why are you not? Oh, there. Quit it. There we go.
And now we can add a new animation, and let's name that move.
And then I'm gonna take another platform. All the way here. That's good. Let's see if I can actually get up on that. Huh, huh, huh. Oh yeah, not a problem. Not a problem at all.
Animation players in Godot are extremely powerful because they allow us to animate pretty much anything. In this case, we just want to do something really simple. We want to go to our platform and make a keyframe under transform for the position. So I'll hit the key right here and hit create. Then we can go forward
play on this one right here. My bad, I meant to put on this one right here.
Put in our timeline here to see everything. In this case, we just want to do something really simple. We want to go to our platform and make a keyframe under transform
Platform. Huh?
for the move. There we go. So to add animation to this platform only, we simply select it, add a new node, and we want to use an animation player. Let's hit create. And now we can add a new animation, and let's name that move. Animation.
Where the hell did he add that at? What the fuck?
And now we can add a new animation.
Oh, I had to click on that.
Let's name that move. Animation players in Godot are extremely powerful because they allow us to animate pretty much anything. In this case, we just want to do something really simple. We want to go to our platform and make a keyframe under transform for the position. So I'll hit the key right here and hit create. Then we can go forward in our timeline here to say 1 second.
Bezier curves. What the fuck does that mean?
And hit create. Then we can go forward in our timeline here to say 1 second, move our platform to the right. So I'm going to click and drag. I'm also going to hold down shift to kind of snap it to one axis. Let's move it to there. And let's add another second, move our platform to the right. So I'm going to click and drag. I'm also going to hold down shift to kind of snap it to one axis. Let's move. Move it to there, and let's add another keyframe. And now we can see that if we play, the animation plays. We also want this to loop, so I'm going to select loop here. However, this is going to loop in a way that it snaps back to the original keyframe. Instead, let's press it again, and now you can see that it's going to start ping-ponging back and forth. If this is currently too fast, we can simply increase the length of our animation. So here's the length. Let's set it to 1.5 instead.
No. Why did it start doing that? I didn't even click anything. You. Zero 0.5, I guess. Why is it moving so weirdly? Huh? What the fuck is happening?
Back to the original keyframe. Instead, the animation plays. We also want this to loop, so I'm going to select loop here. However, this is going to loop in a way that it snaps back to the original keyframe. Instead, let's press it again, and now you can see that it's going to start ping-ponging back and forth. If this is currently too fast, we can simply increase the length of our animation. So here's the length. Let's set it to 1.5 instead.
There you go. 2 seconds. What the fuck is Oh, we get it now. Okay, so let me check this out now. Go over here. Right. Now let's try it. Two. Huh? Why is it not working? What the fuck?
That, and drag our last keyframe to the end. And there we go. We now have a moving platform. Let's just make sure that we set it to autoplay. And now when we play the game and go to the place where we made our platform, we can see that it's moving back and forth. And if we jump onto it, the player will smoothly follow it. Really cool. And there's already so much you can do with this. Next up, pickups. Now let's add a coin that we can pick up. Again, we start by creating a new scene. Let's create a new node, and let's this time search for Area 2D. This is a type of node that we use whenever we don't want to collide with other objects, but instead we just want to define an area in which we can detect collisions. So we simply use this to detect if another body enters, such as the player character. Let's create an Area 2D. Let's also add some graphics, so Control A, search for Sprite, and we'll select the animated sprite. Under animation, let's add some new sprite frames, selected, and let's load in from a sprite sheet here. I'm going to use the coin.png, zoom in on this, and this only has one grid cell on the vertical, and horizontally it has 12. And now we can click from left to right or simply click and drag and add the frames. Let's hit F and zoom in, set the FPS to 10 and hit play. And that's our coin animation. Let's make sure that this autoplays, and just like a normal physics body, an Area 2D also needs a collision shape. So let's add.
Hold on. We're getting ahead of ourselves right now. Three, four.
And click from left to right or simply click and drag and add the frames. Let's hit F and zoom in, set the click and drag and add.
Coin.
The frames. Let's hit F and zoom in, set the FPS to 10 and hit play. And that's our coin animation. Let's make sure that this autoplays, and just like a normal physics body, an Area 2D also needs a collision shape. So let's add a collision shape 2D, and then for the shape, let's just choose a circle shape, decrease the radius a bit, and that's actually all we need. So let's select our area and rename it to coin, and save the scene. And now we can simply drag it into our game. So under scenes, and now we can select our area and rename it to coin and save the scene. And now we can simply drag it into our game. So under scenes, I'll take the coin and place it around the level. You can always use Control D to duplicate. And now if we play, we can see that the coin is here, but nothing happens if we enter the area. So it's time to make our first script. So in our coin scene, we select the coin node and hit add script. This time for the template, let's just choose the default template. And for the path, let's make sure that this goes under the scripts.
Did I go the right thing? Yeah, I believe so. So I want to put the coin. I want to put this here. Here. Okay. Ah, where did my everything go? There we go. Sorry if things are a bit quiet. I'm awfully locked in on this right now. Oh, yeah. I'm pressing Control F, my bad. No. Let me Just realized all this. Oh man. Oh, so I just realized all that was connected to the platform. No, I don't want it connected to the platform. I want it to on its own thing. No! Stop! Can't do this to me. God damn it! Okay, there it is. It's fine. I'm still gonna need to take this all down here. There we go. I need to play your animation real quick. Play that. Play your. What the fuck? Excuse me? Okay, yeah. Missing one there, but whatever. There it goes. What the fuck? Animation player. Why are you not showing me the right animation? Oh, there we go. Let's see. Oh, right there. Zero 0.5. This is at 2.5. There you go. Let's make this 4. Maybe 3.5 then.
Folder. I'll create, and this is what it looks like when we create a default script in Godot. We can see that we've created the script on an Area 2D node, and that it's automatically made to function for us that we often use. Ready and process. Currently, both of them only have the pass keyword, which means do nothing. So this script, if we run it, will do absolutely nothing. Now, the ready function is called right when our node enters the scene tree. Node and scripts folder. I'll create, and this is what it looks like when we create a default script in Godot. We can see that we've created the script on an Area 2D node, and that it's automatically made to function for us that we often use. Ready and process. Currently, both of them only have the pass keyword, which means do nothing. So this script, if we run it, will do absolutely nothing. Now, the ready function is called right when our node enters the scene tree, which is just at the start of the game. So we can put code here that we want to happen immediately. Let's try it out by printing a quick message to see if it's working. So I'm going to write print, then in parentheses and quotes, I'm going to put I'm a coin. And if we play now, the print doesn't do anything in our game, but it does show our message,
every single coin.
I'm a coin, in the output window. This is also referred to as the console and is where we see messages such as prints and errors. However, you might also notice that the message displays multiple times. That's because we currently have multiple coins around our game, and the script runs for each and every one. So since we have 5 coins, it displays I'm a coin 5 times. But we don't want anything to happen when we start the game, so I'm actually just going to remove these 2 functions. Instead, we only want to do something once our player enters the coin area. And for this, we use a signal. Signals allow us to trigger code based on events that happen in our game. Godot has many built-in signals we can use. If we select our Area 2D node and go to the Node tab, we can see all the signals on this node. We want to use the body entered signal, which is triggered whenever a physics body enters the area. Since our player has a character body 2D node, this is going to trigger the signal. So to connect it, we simply double-click it and hit connect. As you can see, this creates a new function in our script called onBodyEntered with a green arrow that shows that this is triggered by a signal. So let's here try writing a print function that says something like +1 coin. Now when we play and enter the coin area, it's going to print +1 coin. However, this message will actually display no matter which body enters the area. If we take one of these coins here and put it in the way of a moving platform, for example, this will also trigger the message. So now, right when we play, we can see that it starts displaying the message, and will do so every time the platform passes through the area. To change this, we can either use code to check what body enters the area, or we can simply put our player on a separate physics layer. Let's try that out. So under our player, we'll go to the inspector, go to collision, and here we can change the physics layer from layer 1 to 2. Let's hit Ctrl S to save, and then in our coin, we can also go under collision. We can actually have the coin change the physics layer from layer 1 to 2. Let's hit Ctrl S to save, and then in our coin, we can also go under collision. We can actually have the coin itself stay on layer 1. We don't need a separate layer for that yet, but we want to make sure that it only detects colliders in layer 2. For this, we use the mask. The mask defines what layers a node collides with. So let's set that to layer 2, because that's the layer that our player is on. That should actually do it. Now our coin will only detect collisions from our player. And instead of just displaying a message, let's also remove the coin from our scene when we pick it up. So in our script, after printing one coin, let's add a new line. We'll call the queueFree function, which is simply going to remove the entire coin scene from our game. And indeed it does. And our knight can now start gathering some coin. Now, depending on what type of loot we pick up, we want different things to happen. In this case, I want to display a score that increases when we pick up a coin. But we'll look at that when we get to text. First, I think something a bit more pressing is dying and restarting our game. Dying 1.0. So we happily move along in our world until suddenly we miss a jump and fall into the abyss. And then nothing happens. Let's change that. The first thing we want to do is limit our camera so that it doesn't follow our player when we fall down. Luckily, this is really easy to do. We simply select our camera under the player, go under limit, and here we can set a position limit for the left, top, right, and bottom part of our camera. In our case, we need to set a limit for the bottom position. To do this, we can use the ruler tool here at the top, or simply press R.
Let's see what he was saying. I think I missed the coin at the bottom, but we'll worry about that later.
And here we can set a position limit for the left. Change that. No. So we happily move along in our world until suddenly we miss a jump and fall into the abyss. And then nothing happens. Let's change that. The first thing we want to do is limit our camera so that it doesn't follow our player when we fall down. Luckily, this is really easy to do. We simply select our camera under the player, go under limit, and here we can set a position limit for the left, top, right, and bottom part of our camera. In our case, we need to set a limit for the bottom position. To do this, we can use the ruler tool here at the top, or simply press R, and measure from this baseline here to where we would like the limit of our camera to be. I think a good value would be somewhere around, say, 120. So I'll simply go back to select mode and put in 120 pixels on the bottom. I'm also going to enable
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and remove some of these for the sake of it. Let's see here. Got some platforming over here. Go. What?
Mode and put these here to where we would like the limit of our camera to be. I think a good value would be somewhere around, say, 120. So I'll simply go back to select mode and put in 120 pixels on the bottom. I'm also going to enable smoothing, and now when we play, we can see that our camera will follow the player, but whenever we fall off, it's simply going to stay put. Next, we need to detect that our player has entered a dangerous area and restart the game. In other words, we need to create a kill zone. I'll show you a really cool way to do this that allows us to reuse the same kill zone for more than just falling off the map, such as for spike traps, enemies, all kinds of elements of danger. And when we want to create a reusable element, we start by making a scene. Then to detect if we enter an area, we again use the Area 2D node. And let's make sure to set the collision mask here to 2. We only want to check for the player, which is on layer 2. And we won't add
like
a collision shape
fucking
here.
rock.
That's because we want to be able to reuse this for all kinds of elements that might have different shapes. Instead, let's simply go ahead and rename this now to kill zone and save it as a new scene. Then in our game scene, we can add it by dragging it in or simply pressing the link button here and selecting the kill zone. And then in here, we'll add the collision shape. So I'm going to hit Control A, collision shape. And for the shape, we'll use the same.
I chose specifically 176 because it's 16 by 16, so it's one block lower than 160. Because it's like 10 blocks down now that I think about it. Okay, what were we doing?
Reuse this for all kinds of we only want making a scene. I'll show you a really cool way to do this that allows us to reuse the same kill zone for more than just falling off the map, such as for spike traps, enemies, all kinds of elements of danger. And when we want to create a reusable element, we start by making a scene. Then to detect if we enter an area, we again use the Area 2D node. And let's make sure to set the collision mask here to 2. We only want to check for the player, which is on layer 2. And we won't add a collision shape here. That's because we want to be able to reuse this for all kinds of elements that might have different shapes. Instead, let's simply go ahead and rename this now to kill zone and save it as a new scene. Then in our game scene, we can add it by dragging it in or simply pressing the link button here and selecting the kill zone. And then in here, we'll add the collision shape. So I'm going to hit Control A, collision shape. And for the shape, we'll use the same world boundary shape that we used earlier for the ground. Now let's make sure to select the kill zone node itself, go into move and use the move tool to position it down here at the bottom. I'm going to place it pretty far down. Shape will use the same world boundary shape that we used earlier for the ground. Now let's make sure to select the kill zone node itself, go into move and use the move tool to position it down here at the bottom. I'm going to place it pretty far down so we're sure we don't hit this by accident. Or I mean, we're going to be hitting it by accident, so let's make sure we don't hit it on purpose. Or I mean, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to place it down here a good bit away from our level. And now we can add a script to make something happen when we enter the area. So in our kill zone, place it pretty far down so we're sure we don't hit this by accident itself. Go into move and use the move tool to position it down here at the bottom. I'm going to place it pretty far down so we're sure we don't hit this by accident. Or I mean, we're going to be hitting it by accident, so let's make sure we don't hit it on purpose. Or I mean, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to place it down here a good bit away from our level. And now we can add a script to make something happen when we enter the area. So in our kill zone, let's select it, add a new script. For the template here, I'm just going to select empty, and the path, let's put it under the scripts folder. And now we have
okay.
this empty script to play with. I'm going to connect a signal, so go node, make sure we have the kill zone node selected, and again we'll use the body entered signal. let's double click it, hit connect, and it's going to create a new function on body entered, in which case we can go ahead and print that you died. And now if we play and jump down, it's going to print that we died. Now, instead of immediately restarting the game, let's add a small delay. We do this using another node called the timer node. So let's add a new node, search for timer, and under the inspector here, we can choose some different things about it. Let's set the wait time to something like 0.6 seconds. Let's also make it a one-shot to make sure that it doesn't loop. We can then start this timer in our code. To do that, however, we first need a reference to it. Luckily, that's as simple as going to the top of our code, clicking and dragging the timer node, and holding down Control while releasing. This creates a variable called timer that automatically finds the node using this path. Now, if you haven't worked with paths before, they are actually quite simple. They specify a way to get from one node to another in the tree. So if we look at this example tree, to get from the game node to the camera, the path looks like this. It goes through the player and ends with the camera. And in our case, where we just want to get from the kill zone to the timer right underneath, we don't have to go through any other nodes, so the path is simply timer. Again, right now we're brushing over concepts such as variables and functions pretty briefly, but you can learn more about programming and what all this really means in our upcoming video on GDScript. For now, just know that using this click and drag method, we can now access our timer node using the name timer. So to start our timer, we make a new line and write timer.start. Of course, we now need to trigger some code when our timer runs out. And again, we can use a signal for this. So with our timer node selected, let's go under node, and here's the timeout signal. So let's double click that and hit connect. And this creates a new function called onTimerTimeout that runs when the timer ends. And then in here, we can simply restart our game. To do this, we first access the scene tree, so get tree, and tell it to reload, so reload current scene. So our player enters the kill zone and triggers the onBodyEntered function. This prints a message that we died and starts the timer. When the timer runs out, it triggers the onTimerTimeout function, which then reloads our scene and restarts the game. And indeed, when we play and jump off the map, we fall down and the scene restarts. Great! It's an infinite loop. Help me! I'm stuck! World building loop. Help me! Great! It's an infinite loop. Help me! I'm stuck! World building 2.0.
All right. I think that's a good enough place to stand up for today. This is great. I really enjoyed this. This is a much more entertaining tutorial than I was expecting it to be. Okay, so we got. So let's actually complete our little level we made. And we did it. We got everything. Oh yeah. So, anyways, we'll work on this some more tomorrow. This was fun. I like this. Help me understand some things I was kind of hazy on, and I did really poorly, like really badly. That being said, hopefully this will help me going forward to keep some things in mind. I have a little more direction in what I'm doing, which, as you all know, was kind of what I was severely lacking earlier. But other than that, I think this is great. It worked out really well for me. So yeah, that'll be it for me tonight. Look forward to more, of course. We will I'll definitely be doing more of this tomorrow, as always. And yeah. Good night, everybody. Bye. Bye.